Welcome back to another video tutorial in our CSS series. So in the last videos, we talked about animations and then transitions. And now in this video, we're going to talk about transformations. So right now I've got an empty folder. Well, not quite empty. I have an index.html, but that file is empty. So let's go ahead and generate some boilerplate code there. And then I can title this CSS Transformations. And down in the body, I'm basically going to have a div, which is going to be our outer box. So here I'm going to give it a class and set that equal to outer box. And then inside of here, we are going to have another div, and I'm just going to set that equal to box for that name. And then inside of this div, we're going to have a span, and this span is just going to say transform me. Okay. So now if I were to go ahead and save that and open it in live server, here's what I see. Let's go ahead and give that some styles. So let's go ahead and link our CSS style sheet in here. Make sure to save this file before we leave it. Create a new file, css.styles, and I'm going to go ahead and just give this a background color here just because I don't like that white. And this is just going to be light coral is fine. There we go. Now, in here, let's go ahead and put this transform me in the middle. So to do that, I need to go ahead and style my outer box, which you'll remember is this div right here. So to style my outer box, I'm going to go ahead and give this a, I don't know, maybe a height of 90, viewport height. And then inside here, we're going to say display, flex, and I'm going to go ahead and put all of my content in the middle. So justify content, center, and then align items. And let's go ahead and actually put this at the flex start. So save that. And actually, let's swap those. So I'm going to do flex start on this one, and then on this one, we will do center. Just so that's going to put it right here in the middle of our screen. Now let's give that box just a little bit of character, a little bit of styling. So dot box, and then in here, I'm going to say our display again is going to be flex. Our justify content, I'm going to set to center, and then align items, I'm also going to set that to the center. And now that we have that, nothing's changed because we haven't given any dimensions to our box. So let's come in here and we could say background color, maybe blue looks fine. So there we go. There's our box. It doesn't look that good. Let's give that some, let's just do some padding. Maybe, I don't know, 30 pixels all the way around. There we go. We've got our padding in there. Now let's go ahead and style that span in there as well. So to do that, I'm going to say font size, maybe 1.5 rem. And then after that, let's do white for the color so that we can actually see that. And there we go. We've got this box here. And then we've got our outer box up here. Let's do some border radius, maybe nothing too extreme, just 20 pixels. Okay, so we've got this transform me box here. And you'll remember, if I add a box with a colon and then hover, this is our pseudo selector. And if I were to change anything in here, well, then basically, whenever I hover over this transform me box, that element is going to change. So if I were to come in here and say something like transform, and in here you'll see we've got a whole bunch of them: perspective, rotate, rotate X, Y, Z, scale, scale 3D, skew, translate, all kinds of different things in here. Let's just start at some of the more, we'll start with some of the more common ones. Let's start with rotate. So we could say rotate, and if I just say something like 30 DEG for 30 degrees, save that. Now if I hover over that, you could see that it rotates 30 degrees. So this is what a transform is doing. And if you remember like algebra and geometry class back in school, basically you can transform your functions and you can use the transform to move it or to rotate it or to scale it. And that's all that this transform is doing here on your CSS as well. And you'll notice this transition is immediate. But again, we can do just like we did in the last video, we did our transitions. So if I say transition and I want to set all to 2 seconds, maybe, now save that. So now if I were to come in here and rotate, it rotates 2 seconds. And even I can say all 2 seconds, ease in, ease out. And here you go. You could see that that is basically doing that transition of 2 seconds for the transform that's happening whenever I rotate or whenever I hover over that. And I can come in here and set any different number of transforms. So if I come down here and say transform, let's say we want the scale to get bigger, so maybe 1.3. Now, if I save that and hover, you'll notice something just happened. Our scale is going, but our rotate is not. And basically, the reason for that is in CSS, you're going to start from the top, and then anything beneath that is going to overwrite the line above it. So because I have transform rotate 30 degrees, and then on the next line, I have transform scale 1.3 degrees, or 1.3, this line right here is going to override this line, meaning I might as well have that line commented out. It's not going to happen. Now, if I want to do more than one transform, I can easily do that. You just have to put them all on the same line. So if I said transform scale 1.3, rotate 30 degrees, and then save that. Well, now if I hover, you can see I'm scaling and rotating. We can also come down, we can also add a few more transforms to this. So if I said something like, let's just look at our list one more time. So transform, here we've got rotate, we've got rotate X, rotate Y, and that's just rotating on the different axes. We've got scale, which we did. We've got skew, so I could skew it as well. So I can come in here, and if I say skew and maybe in here 30 degrees, save that. Well, now if I hover over that, you'll see that our box is kind of like, we start with this box and this kind of twisting as we turn it. And basically that's what we call skew, is we are skewing or twisting our original shape. So that's what that does. Again, on that, you can see we've got skew, which is going to do it both directions, and then skew X and skew Y if you want to do it only along specific axes. And then you've also got your translate. And translate is basically changing your position here. So if I were to come down here, and at the end of this, if I say translate, maybe 400 pixels, save that. Now, let's go ahead and look at that, and you can see that it's spinning, or not spinning, it's moving, but it's moving along our X and our Y axis. Now, if I wanted to change that, you might think I could simply come in here and change this to translate X and then save that. But now, if you'll notice, it still is going X, which is horizontal, and then it's going down as well, which seems like it's moving along the Y axis. But it's not actually moving along, it's not being transformed along the Y axis. Actually, what's happening is we have our rotate 30 degrees. So when we rotate this item 30 degrees and then move it along the X axis, 400 pixels, it's gonna be moving 400 pixels at a 30-degree rotation, which is why that's going down as well. So if we wanted to get rid of that, we could just maybe remove that part and then save it. And you can see now, if I do that transform, it moves it just along the X-axis. And yeah, it's pretty much that rotate is messing that up. Or obviously you could do Y-axis here as well. And then there you go, you can see it's going down. And again, it's going down, but it looks like it's going to the right. along the x-axis, and that's because of this skew that we have there. So sometimes when you're running these transforms in combination with each other, they can do things that you might not be expecting. Usually, if you stop and think about it, it actually does make sense why they're doing that. But definitely give this a try on your own. Go through these transforms, try rotating things and rotating along X, Y, scaling them, skewing them, translating them. Add these to your own projects, get plenty of practice with that. It's not terribly complicated or difficult. So hopefully you're able to understand all of this without too much difficulty. If not, go back and watch the video again and then leave a comment down below with any questions. And we will see you in the next video.